So we're just letting everyone in. So if you just bear with us for a couple of moments. Thanks everyone for joining us today. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for this one in our series of Law Society of Nunavut continuing legal education seminars. And I'm very grateful to have Marcia Ellis here today, who's going to be talking about the neuroscience of yoga as one of our pillars, or one of our aspects of continuing legal education is lawyer health and wellness, which includes, excuse me, mental health. And Marcia Ellis is a wonderful, I'm so grateful she was willing to present, because she not only has a background in law and legal studies, she also has a background in yoga. And so I won't take too much time. I'll turn it over to her. But again, I'm just really glad and grateful we have Marcia here. And thank you all for joining us this morning.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me at the Law Society of Nunavut. I'm really excited to be a part of this lunch wellness chat series. It's really an honor, and I'm so excited to share about something that I'm really passionate about to legal professionals like yourselves. I'm going to start off with an Indigenous land acknowledgement, because I am coming in virtually to your meeting from Grand Valley, Ontario, which is about which is about an hour and a half northwest of Toronto. And I'd like to start with the acknowledgement that I am on the Handaman Track, which is an unceded land promised to the Haudenosaunee people of Six Nations, which includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. So Grand Valley is located on the Grand River, and this is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for reaching out to me. I'm really excited about sharing this today. If you can all see my first slide, this is, oops, how do I go back? If you saw the slide, it was just the picture there was an image from the Luther Marsh Conservation. So that's right near where I'm located. It's a really nice lake. You'll be able to see it. And that's where my Grand Valley Hatha Yoga studio is located, on our farm. This is just an overview of our presentation today, if you can see that. Just a brief introduction of who I am and how I got started. A little bit about yoga and meditation, and then talking a little bit about your nervous system and the neuroscience of yoga. So, and then at the end, or closer to, I'm going to try to closer to the middle. We're going to try, if you're up for it, a sample of a chair yoga practice and a pranayama practice, which is breathing, and as well as a little bit of guided meditation. So that would include your participation. And then we're going to have a reflection, a chance to share back kind of how you felt about the practice, and sort of thinking about your own mental health and wellness, and how you could incorporate some of these practices in your day-to-day life. And then I have as well some resources sharing. I'm going to be sharing throughout the presentation about all the sources, but there really are so many. So I did actually share with Rebecca a little selected bibliography, but there really is so much out there. And she, I think, has sent that to you already. So this is a little bit about my story. So this presentation is called The Stress Cycle and the Neuroscience of Yoga. And as I said, we're going to be talking about how effective yoga is, yoga, pranayama, mindfulness, meditation, and grounding practices, and how those can really help you manage your stress throughout your day. And really what people are looking for is more evidence-based research um, on yoga. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that, and kind of like the academic community. The research on yoga is really exploding right now. Particularly, I think Harvard Medical School has a really dedicated department, and the neuroscience department at NYU, which I mentioned in the description of this talk. There's a really great conference. It's been happening yearly since 2021 about the neuroscience of yoga, and that has some really great findings each year. So we're going to look at this presentation. We're going to talk about the science of how yoga affects your brain and how to harness those benefits for yourself. So briefly, just before the presentation, I was talking to Santana, and we were talking about, if you don't mind me sharing, we were talking about how, some people, when they think about yoga, they think about like how they want to be good at the practice of yoga. Whereas I would encourage students to start thinking about yoga as a practice that you can benefit from. So what benefits are you getting from this practice? So as people in the legal profession, I think it's really helpful for you to know that it's an evidence-based practice. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the stress on the nervous system, the stress cycle, and the function of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. But first, I wanted to let you know, so this picture that you see, this is me teaching yoga. I did have consent from my participants. There was a photographer there. This is a retreat center in Ontario called Nirvana. And right here, they're kind of in a restorative child's pose. Sorry, I have to cough. They're in a restorative child's pose with blankets and props. So their body is fully supported. And then in addition to that, physical touch can be like a healing practice. So if you'll see right on the floor in front of their yoga mat, those are actually consent cards. The square one is a consent card, and the heart is actually, we did a positive affirmation I am statements, which can be really powerful. So this was a really great retreat. And that's kind of something that I do. This retreat, although I offer it as co-ed, a lot of time this was female and female identifying persons. And the picture there of the sunflowers is my garden, which I also have yoga classes at as well. So I started teaching yoga. Actually, I was writing the LSAT, which I'm sure some of you have written. So that's something that you can relate to. So this is after my master's. I did my master's in, no, actually before my master's, I wrote the LSAT. And when I was, I took an LSAT prep course. So when I was taking this course, I found it to be very tedious, very stressful. And I just had a very difficult time studying for it. Not like the coursework, is different because you can get really involved in the subject material, but for whatever reason, the LSAT really, I struggled with it a lot. So I ended up taking a course, and the course actually ended up being beside the yoga studio where I attended my classes. So what ended up happening was I was occasionally skipping my LSAT prep courses and taking yoga, and I was really just feeling so much better, my mind and body, and just in a much better place after practicing yoga than, as you can imagine, than studying for my LSAT. So after that, I ended up taking the teacher training. There was a teacher training happening at that time. So I ended up becoming a registered yoga teacher at that time in 2011. And so I'm trained in the Hatha yoga tradition, and since then I started teaching prenatal and kids, and I've taken many teaching certificates. So I've been practicing yoga for 16 years, and I've been a teacher for 13. And I really love seeing the benefits and the relaxation and the stress relief that the practice can offer. And it's really nice because you get to see almost like an instantaneous relief of stress in people after a yoga class. If you've ever been to a yoga class, you might be familiar with the kind of feelings of being able to just feeling a lot better in your mind and body, being more grounded and centered. So it was, so if you want to take a moment and just wherever you're seating, I know some of you might be eating lunch, but if you want to take a moment and we'll just kind of find yourself a comfortable seated position. You're sitting in a chair and just take a moment and take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the nose. We're going to be doing a little bit more of this breathing practice after, but just coming into your body, paying attention to your body and paying attention to your breath. If you take one more deep breath in and a deep breath out, it can actually impact your central nervous system almost immediately. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So this slide, this says self-care is not selfish. This is again a picture from that same retreat, and here they're doing a little bit of sharing and gratitude mindfulness practice. So mindfulness and mindfulness meditation combined with yoga practice can be quite good. So about 16% of adults in the USA are practicing yoga right now, and about there's 5 main US airports have dedicated yoga spaces, and yoga is making its way more into mainstream society. So in workplaces, public schools, and healthcare. And there is, like I said earlier, this need for more evidence-based research. So that's why you see all this research coming out that's really trying to just find outlining the benefits in a scientific way. So now yoga and meditation are being used as alternatives and complementary treatments in substance use disorders. It's now widely understood that a yoga practice can aid in the management of stress, particularly among students with high levels of stress. And now for those of you in the legal profession, I think that it's safe to say that you can experience, I'll let you tell me maybe if you want to share, if you do experience high levels of stress due to the demanding nature of your work. So I think that you would greatly benefit from a yoga practice. So I didn't want to scare you too much. I don't want to be too negative, but the occupational stress is a serious thing. It's a chronic condition that it's essential to understand its history behind occupational stress. So it's actually one of the most common work-related health problems worldwide. So much so that occupational stress is a well-documented issue that poses risks to both physical and mental health. So according to the World Health Organization, stress-related diseases is a leading cause of premature death in European countries. So that was a European study that they did. And work-related stress has high costs for workers and society in general. So it's important to kind of promote a healthier workplace environment and kind of address this issue of, occupational stress and related to, which can lead to burnout and, reducing quality of life and those kinds of issues. So it is occupational stress is a serious issue that the World Health Organization and many job places like the Law Society, for example, having these wellness talks is taking seriously. And yoga and the health benefits of yoga can be really helpful in a way to deal with that. So what is yoga? Yoga is an ancient practice originating in South Asia that combines physical poses or asanas and pranayama, which is the flow or control of the breath, and meditation. So there are many different types of yoga and yoga practices, and there are many different ways in which it is practiced. And it's also very important to note that it's important to contextualize the practice of yoga with the broader issues of colonial history, cultural appropriation, globalization, and westernization. So although that's not the main focus of this presentation, I just wanted to make that important note. And I wanted to offer you two credible sources to go to understand more about that complicated issue of cultural appropriation. So we're lucky to have in Canada the York University professor Ranganathan. He works at York in the Department of Philosophy, and he talks about yoga philosophy and practicing yoga from an anti-colonial framework. And he's recently published, it's coming out this year, I think it just came out last month, 2024, Yoga Anti-Colonial Philosophy. So he's a great source to go to. He actually has training program that he does through Yoga Alliance, which is free for yoga teachers. So I've taken part in some of his trainings, and just being from York University, I do know him, and he's a great resource, and you can find him online, and he does some really great work. Another person that you can go to if you're interested in more on that would be Susanna Barkati, and I did put this in the bibliography so you'll have it. And she wrote a really great book called Embracing Yoga's Roots, and she works to decolonialize, reclaim, and honor yoga's roots from an anti-colonial lens. So when you are taking part in yoga, in a yoga class, I think it is important to contextualize it in the history of it. So it's important to understand that. So we're going to move on. So this is I just wrote here, the effectiveness of yoga in managing stress, particularly everyday work-related stress, would be a combination of physical postures, the asanas, the breath control, also known as the pranayama, and the meditation, which could also be forms of like mindfulness meditation, gratitude practice. And then there's some specific meditations that are often included in yoga classes, like progressive muscle relaxation, present moment awareness, things like that. So that has the potential to help relieve stress. Okay, so this image here, this is the stress cycle. And this image I've shared as well separately in case it's a little bit too small to read. But this is based on a book. It's an image, an infographic from the book Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. So if you want to take a moment and look at that. So you have this cycle of how stress affects you. So number one, the stressor appears, and this is a stressful event occurs, a message, a meeting, an important deadline, a difficult conversation. And your body kind of identifies that as a stressor or a perceived stress. The important thing about understanding stress and stress management has to do with how you perceive your experiences. So what someone finds stressful, another person might not find stressful. So it is all about your perception of stress, which is why yoga can be very helpful. So two, stress response system activated. So your amygdala activates the body's stress response, going into flight or freeze, and then our bodies respond to stress. So stress can actually be so very helpful because it brings our attention. It gives us that, because it kind of shuts down our digestion, our reproductive. It kind of shuts things down so that you have the energy in order to deal with the perceived threat. So in a good kind of cycle, you would kind of handle the stress, it would disappear, and then your stress response system would be deactivated. Your cortisol will go back down, and then you would have you could go into a more homeostasis state. What the problem that kind of happens is that you're missing, people are missing the deactivation of their stress, and the body will go into this kind of chronic stress situation where stress is building up and you don't have that kind of release of stress, which is where yoga can help, because it kind of helps you reactivate, it helps you with the rest and recovery part of it. So we're gonna, so this is kind of the some people call this the feedback loop. So there's the stress, it creates the cortisol and the hormonal shift in the body. And if you look a little bit more into this, there needs to be more research done in how this is affecting, how it specifically affects women in relation to estrogen production. So when cortisol is present, estrogen can't be produced, and that kind of wreaks havoc on women's reproductive health. And in the neuroscience conference, they were kind of saying that in the field of neuroscience, not enough research has been done specifically understanding stress in relation to the female body. As you probably know, like women's issues and women's topics have been underrepresented in the sciences. So that is one of the things that needs to be further looked at. So here we have, so I want to go one more slide and then come back. Am I able to do that? So this is the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So this, oops. Perfect. Okay, so this is the sympathetic nervous system that runs your fight or flight mode. Cortisol is released. You have this sense of activity, stress, sense of urgency, and prioritizing. And then physically, you have these physical changes. So you have your heart rate increase, extra blood, your more energy, your resources are mobilized, and your body slows down or halts your other bodily functions, such as digestion and reproduction. And the example here is that when cortisol is released, the estrogen production slows down or halts. And then the benefits, of course, is when you're in this mode, you really feel alert, able to deal with challenges. Your senses become sharper and you are dealing with that stress. So for example, presenting here today, my cortisol levels will be up because I'm presenting, and that will help. That actually helps you deal with the challenge. And then the parasympathetic nervous system is when you are in a state of either relaxation or homeostasis balance, and that is when you're feeling good. You oftentimes have endorphins or serotonin. You have a balanced kind of progesterone, estrogen. This is the healing zone. So we want to kind of be able to get back to this state, hopefully several times a day, so that you can have, so that your body can heal. And in particularly, it would be good to be able to get in this state before sleep. That's kind of a whole other talk, but yoga and meditation, particularly the pranayama, the breathing, learning deep breath, can help increase this parasympathetic activation, which will benefit you throughout your day. So the progressive muscle relaxation in particular has been said to lower cortisol. And if you haven't experienced that, at the end of a yoga class, progressive muscle relaxation is kind of guiding you to relax different parts of your body, usually from the feet upwards. And it's a guided meditation that can actually be quite powerful in reducing stress. So if you get to experience that at the end of a yoga class, excellent, that will do well. So at the end of a yoga, if you are not familiar, there is what's called a shavasana, which is a which is a asana, physical posture, where you lay completely flat or with your knees bent if your body doesn't allow. And you can actually have this state sitting in a chair yoga session as well, but you relax your body and your mind completely, and you kind of let yourself kind of absorb the benefits of the practice. So in a traditional hatha yoga class, you might have twisting, bending, all of those things. And then in Shavasana is a state of deep rest and relaxation at the end, which is usually, it's supposed to be at least 5 minutes long. Okay, so this little graphic here is about the benefits of yoga. So as I was saying earlier, this presenter was absolutely amazing. He's from Harvard Medical School, Dr. Kalasa, and he is coming out with a book. This is just an updated version, The Principles and Practices of Yoga in Modern Science. It is quite a pricey book, but it's all the all the work that they've been doing to kind of talk about evidence-based approaches and the research behind it, the mind and body benefits of a yoga practice. So all of these topics here from the infographic have specific, so yoga helping with self-regulation, yoga helping with psychophysiological health, improving immune function, lowering stress, lowering cortisol production. All those topics have specific, many different academic journal articles just relating to those topics. So we're really seeing nice evidence-based research coming out of these, not just the conferences, but the work that they're doing at Harvard Medical School and at NYU. Here's another here's another slide about the neuroscience of yoga and wellness. All of these findings are also backed by evidence-based research, and I did link some of them in the biography. There's so many. It's wonderful. At the yoga conference this year, they also had a specific class on the benefits of yoga to chronic pain, the benefits for people with PTSD, the benefits of yoga with people experience ADHD, and then these ones, neuroplasticity. There have been other studies about how yoga is improving memory. The cortisol, so we are kind of seeing the detrimental effects of long-term cortisol release. That's basically what we talked about earlier with the stress cycle, and occupational stress is a big part of that. So being able to practice yoga can be a really great tool to help you regulate your emotional responses throughout the day for daily stress. And they are showing a lot, if these practices, the research is actually showing like the longevity of your yoga practice over time. Basically, it takes time to learn these practices, even years. So over time, the emotional regulation will come. And they're finding really great results with yoga with children. So it's really nice that some public schools are incorporating these practices early on, so that you really have the time to learn these skills and implement them in your daily life. And the parasympathetic vagus nerve activation, that has to do with what we talked about earlier, with just activating that sense of deep rest and relaxation. Basically just finding ways for your breath to become your tool, there you can actually slow your own heart rate down and just be in the moment, and just being able to regulate your body. So it's a mind-body practice, and they're finding that it's very helpful. And the effects of meditation on reducing stress has actually now been proven to affect I mentioned the cellular aging, but also epigenetics. There's some really interesting research being done about that. Okay, so we are doing really good for time. I did want to have some time to practice. So I'm hoping that, well, I did also want to say about, so yoga and meditation. So let's see. So here I wrote for sample practices, some things we might try today, a mini chair yoga sequence. So that would involve moving your body, breathing, mindful movement. So I have been hired by some public schools near me, and we often will call the yoga practice the mindful movement. Sometimes people have like resistance to yoga because people believe it to be like a spiritual practice, and you can learn more about like the roots of yoga and understanding that. So the mindful movement involves the yoga asanas, the pranayama, the breathing exercises, and then these are some other things that you can do throughout your day: mindful eating practices, present moment awareness, and maybe if you brought your tea for grounding, gratitude. We usually do gratitude in most of my classes. It can actually help put you in a positive state of mind. And the bird sounds in nature, seeing the color green, listening to the sound of the birds, those can all impact your mental health. And they have the neuroscience to prove that. And then the mindfulness, self-compassion, particularly if you're interested in learning more about that, Kristin Neff wrote a great book called Fierce Self-Compassion. And that has to do with how you talk to yourself, how you speak to yourself as you would a good friend, and just learning how to speak to yourself with kindness. That some of us weren't taught that growing up. So then you have to kind of reteach your mind to come from a place of compassion. And in her book, there is a great Soles of the Feet practice, which I think goes really well with a yoga practice. So we are at about 12:30 now. So I was hoping that if you are up for it, we could actually try some of these practices. So it might involve standing up. It might involve moving your body. I want you to make sure you're listening to your body and respecting your body. If there's anything that feels uncomfortable, you can not do it. You can listen to your body and opt out. And always just take care of yourself. Make sure you're being gentle. Are we okay to go ahead with some chair yoga now? How's everybody feeling? I feel like that's a lot more talking than I normally do without feedback. So, are you still there, Rebecca? Okay, let's get started then. If you are sitting.
Sorry, I am here. I'm just coming off mute. This is great.
Okay, awesome. So if you're in a chair, so chair yoga is often, people do chair yoga as a modified practice in a chair, and it is nice and helpful because it is something you can do kind of like in the office if you have kind of more of a private office, or you can do it at home in your home office. And there are some practices that you can do without a chair as well. So there are some things that you can do that are very discreet, that you can kind of do without people noticing. For example, the pranayama and the breathing. But then there are some things that you want to kind of practice on your own. So if you are able to, so you come to the edge of your seat, you want to have your feet kind of firmly planted in the ground. So this is also why I said, if you need to, you might need to bring or invest in yoga blocks. So these are just it's just a cork block, which you can place if you're shorter and you can't reach the floor. It's helpful to have your feet grounded on something. And you can also use this to bring the floor closer to you. So for example, if you were doing a forward fold in the chair, you could have your hands on this. So we'll start by grounding our feet in the ground, growing ourselves tall through the crown of the head, and then just kind of gently tucking your chin so that the crown of your head is lifting and you feel your spine, you feel your shoulder blades moving back. You feel yourself growing tall through the crown of the head. And the first thing you want to do when you're seated, your shoulders are back, you're growing tall through the crown of the head, you kind of want to start by just noticing your breath. So see if you have been holding your breath as you've been listening. And then you want to just start to pay attention to your body. Your feet are firmly planted. You can have your hands on your legs. And then I normally encourage what's called a body scan. So you can mentally scan your body and just look for any areas of your body, any sensations of pain or tightness, and kind of notice those areas without judgment, just being aware of what's happening in your body and what's happening in your breath. And then once you have your attention on those areas, your body and your breath, you can say, okay, my breathing today is fairly fast or slow. I feel my feet in the ground. I feel my shoulders back. How's my mind? Like, what am I thinking about? There's been a lot of information kind of being thrown at me from this presentation. How is my mind feeling? What are my thoughts? And this kind of practice is often called present moment awareness or breath awareness. So you're just kind of becoming the observer of your body and your mind. So that's going to help you. And then once you've started that process, you've started this process of this kind of meditation, this kind of yoga meditation, just becoming aware of your body, becoming aware of your breath is kind of the first step that you do when you're getting ready to practice yoga. And then the next step that you could do is add in a pranayama or a breath control practice. So, we really do this at the beginning of every yoga class because you need to do it every day, like all the time. You need to begin to notice your breath, notice how you're doing, notice how you're breathing before you practice. And then what I like to do with my students, what's called a belly breath. So I might stand up just so that you can see my hands and my stomach, but just push this back a bit. So you can stand up, you can bring your hands on your belly, or sometimes we do one hand on the belly and one hand on the chest. You can do it while sitting. I'm just standing so you can see what I'm doing. And then you want to just take a few breaths, relax your shoulders. And then you want to see if you can make your hands lift. So as you breathe in, you feel your chest and belly rise, and then slowly exhale. You feel the contraction, you feel your belly and chest fall, and then there's the contraction of the diaphragm. So these are sometimes called yogic breaths. Oops. So you have your hand, you can have your hand on your chest. This is also a somatic practice, and then you take a few breaths in. And we should probably do about 5 of these long, deep breaths, just so that we really activate this parasympathetic nervous system. So you can do with both hands on the belly, if that feels good, or you can do one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly. So deep breath in, you can even hold at the top and then exhale. Deep breath in, sometimes you can close your eyes for concentration. Hold at the top and then slowly exhale through the nose. And then big inhale. So we try to do a lot of the breathing in and out through the nose. Sometimes if you're pregnant, it is better to exhale through the mouth just for comfort. or as you're getting used to the practice. Some people are not used to exhaling through the nose, so as you're getting used to it, good. I think we're at 4. We'll do one more. And then gently you can release your hands. And then think also as you're breathing, think about the 360, the full spectrum of your diaphragm. So sometimes for children's yoga, you'll use these kind of props to show that, and you might have seen them, the tools. Sometimes they show visually in different apps, like the inhale and exhale. So you see these different types of tools and techniques. So it's all about breathing in and breathing out. So it's just bringing your mind, your present moment, your mind to the present moment. And the best way that you can bring your attention to the present moment is by bringing your attention to the breath, your breath. So your breath is the anchor to the present moment, because in the present moment, that's where you take your breath. So good. So if you pay attention to your breath, it will automatically bring you back to the present moment. So that is the pranayama. That's a pranayama exercise that you would start. You could start your yoga practice with, or you could also just do that, do the pranayama practice on its own. If you're having a stressful day, I know that people kind of know of this. They know of, like, I need to take a deep breath, like there's all of these things, but really just practicing yoga when you're not stressed, it can help you when you are experiencing higher levels of stress, because you'll have the practice of this this kind of coming down, this de-escalation, and this activation of the rest, the parasympathetic nervous system. And then if you use other tools such as aromatherapy or kind of like music, any of those things will help you with that response. So if you start to associate, scent is a really powerful one, which is why I say aromatherapy, because if you use, for example, lavender in your yoga practice, then that will help you, even just the smell will help you get into that rest state throughout your day. So drawing your attention back to the breath. So coming back to our seated position, the really nice practice of yoga is that you incorporate your movement, which is your exercise, with the pranayama, and then your movement is a type of moving meditation. So as you practice yoga, you get familiar with it, you're moving your breath with your body. So let's just start by gently inhaling, lifting our shoulders up, and then exhale, rolling our shoulders down and back. So similar to the breathing, the pranayama. So we inhale, we can lift our shoulders up, gently rolling our shoulders back on the exhale. So you can try to match your movements with your breath. Inhale up, and then exhale down. Good. And then if you wanted to add the gratitude element to it, normally with my classes, we actually say our gratitude, and we have our tea. We have our tea at the beginning, warm tea in our hands we can ground down, we can ground using the hot tea, feet firmly planted in the ground. And you can think about something that brings you gratitude, and think of something that brings you joy and something that makes you really happy. And then you can use that, or set an intention with your practice. So you can say, my intention with this practice is to share the benefits of yoga with all of you. So that could be my intention. That's my intention with this yoga practice. And the warm tea can be used also as a tool for grounding. Soles of the feet, the mindfulness, self-compassion. You bring your attention to your feet. So if you're sitting, you can do this sitting or standing, but I'll just do it sitting. I imagine some of you are sitting. You can lift your toes up off the ground, And then you feel the four corners of your feet. So when they say the four corners of the feet in yoga, they don't mean the toes. So all your toes are lifted, and then you're grounding down in the heel and the top balls of your feet. And then you can slowly bring them down, the toes down one by one, and then maybe rocking your feet gently forward and back. And that is a practice which you can do almost subtly, so people wouldn't maybe notice that you're bringing your attention to your body, to the soles of your feet, and that can help you ground in the present moment. And then you can start to roll yourself tall through the crown of the head. We'll move a little bit more now. Inhale, reach your arms up overhead. You can follow your hands with your eyes. Maybe bring your eyes to your hands, pressing the hands together and then gently floating them down. So the hand positions in yoga are called mudras. Inhale, sweep the arms up. So shoulder blades are coming down, hands are pressing together, and then exhale, coming all the way down. Good. And then hands can come to the thighs. Let's inhale, one arm up, and exhale, reach over to the side, maybe even turning up towards the ceiling, just stretching out our side body, connecting with our body and mind. And then inhale, both hands can come back up. And then exhale. Good, let's do the other side. So right hand can come to the right leg. Inhale to reach. So you inhale, you match your breath with your body, and then exhale, reach over. And then maybe even gently looking up towards your hand. Deep breath in and exhale. Good, and then gently coming back to center. We'll do one more, raise, lift up, inhale. And then this time, let's see if we can spread our legs a little bit apart so that we can have space to do a nice little forward fold. So coming all the way through, so to fold forward, you can either put your hands on your knees, or you can have them reaching towards your block. And then pressing your hands on the block, see if you can release your head and neck so that you have a little bit of a rest in a nice full forward fold. Taking a few deep breaths here with your head and neck kind of bent. So breathing into your back body, breathing into your shoulder blades. This is a forward fold. We're kind of doing the chair yoga version of the sun salutation. And then as you come up, you're going to slowly roll up just one vertebrae at a time, coming back up to standing or seated. Beautiful. Awesome. You guys are doing great. And then we can do either a seated version of cat and cow. Bring your hands to the edge of your knees, and then you would inhale, head and hips looking up, and then exhale, you can round your back, moving your body. So really matching your breath with your body. So the great benefit here is moving your spine. And I think we come back to the beginning. It's important to just kind of let go of the aesthetics of what it looks like and just really try to feel the benefits that you can feel happening in your body and mind. And as you're lifting your head and neck, it's also benefiting your thyroid. I always really enjoy thinking about the benefits of the poses. And then you can also do some standing poses as well. I think we have enough time to do some standing poses. So just come on up, stand on up with me if you want. And then you can also, I like to use these little foldy out chairs for chair yoga because they're so versatile and they can do so much. So if you're using them for a standing pose, you can stand behind the chair for balance. So let's say we're going to try doing the tree pose, which is kind of this iconic yoga pose. So the tree pose is a balancing pose. So it's nice to have the chair in front of you, You would do the soles of the feet practice, so we can do that again. So soles of the feet practice is just bringing your attention to your feet. If you're on a yoga mat, you can just gently practice. You can have your hands on the chair, the back of the chair, gently rock forward, heel to toe. So you're massaging your feet, but you're also strengthening your ankles if you're lifting up onto your toes. And then we'll start with mountain. So finding the four corners of your feet, kind of engaging your core gently. You can bring your hands to the side, palms open, tucking your chin gently, growing yourself tall through the crown of the head. And then go back to that belly breathing that we did at the beginning. And then take a few of those big belly breaths in your standing position. Try not to lock your knees. So you want to have a kind of a gentle bend in your knees. Take a deep breath in and slow breath out. Remember that yoga is this combination of mind-body practice. So you have this inhale, you feel your chest and belly rising, and then slowly exhale. Feel your shoulders relaxing, your body relaxed, and this mountain pose, palms open. And then if you feel relaxed and stable, you can start to try your tree pose. Just shift your standing weight to one leg. Let's shift our standing weight to our left leg. And then gently, you can lift up your right knee and then maybe see if you can turn your right knee gently out to the side. And then you rest your heel gently on your calf. Your standing leg is actually slightly bent, and you can hold onto your chair, so just the tip of your chair. And then you can lift your foot onto your calf, find your balance here, or you can keep your toe on the ground. Remember, just honor your body and what feels good for you today. And then you want to take a couple deep breaths here in our standing tree pose. If it feels comfortable, you can bring an arm out, maybe both arms. Maybe you can find a yoga mudra, finding your balance, taking a couple deep breaths. And then whenever you're ready, maybe you can bring your knee forward, maybe you can lift it up, maybe you can reach towards your knee, and then gently bring it down, walk it out. So walking it out is just kind of stepping back and forth, releasing the pose, and then we'll do the other side as well. So we'll do the same thing on the other side, grounding down in your right leg, maybe rocking gently forward and back, gentle bend in the standing leg, shoulders down, finding your breath, open your left knee out to the side, bring your heel to the right leg, grow yourself tall through the crown of the head. Maybe you can lift your leg up to your calf. Maybe today you'd like to keep it on the ground, grow a little bit taller, tucking your chin, breathing here. Maybe finding your variation. I like to encourage students to think about your favorite tree memory. It's something not everybody thinks about, but it kind of makes you a bit nostalgic. If you think about a special memory that you have with a tree, if you ever read in a tree as a child, if there's just a painting with a tree that you really like. And then you can also think about your favorite kind of tree. And you can think about growing roots into the ground. Sometimes people would say growing roots into the ground. You can imagine that, the grounding down and how spreading the roots. And then you can also imagine spreading the roots upwards as well. Beautiful. And then we can also gently bending the standing leg, bringing the knee up if you can, forward, just kind of stretching out the hips, maybe rolling the ankles if that feels good. And then also walking it out. And then since we have a moment, we can just do a quick downward dog with the chair or a forward fold. So you would turn the chair so that the seat of the chair is facing you, placing your hands in the chair, walking the feet back, and then bringing the head down, giving yourself a nice stretch in the back body. Breathing here. So you might feel the stretch in the back body. You might feel it more in the calves and the legs. Taking a couple deep breaths and then coming up gently, maybe walking your feet towards you. And then we will have our Shavasana in the seated position. So sitting back down, rolling yourself tall through the crown of the head, taking a few deep breaths, and we'll just do maybe a minute or two of this kind of progressive relaxation, just to show you what it's like. So coming back into your comfortable seated position, your feet are on the ground, your head is growing tall. Taking a couple more deep breaths, and just imagine your feet relaxing, your ankles relaxing. And as you breathe in, as you breathe out, your body is feeling more relaxed here. Feel your ankles and your calves relaxing. Deep breath in, slow breath out through the nose. Feel your thighs and your hips relaxing. Deep breaths. Feel your torso relaxed, your shoulder blades relaxed. Feel your jaw relaxed, your hands relaxed. Feel the space in the back of the neck relaxed. Feeling yourself growing tall through the crown of the head. And feeling your face relax, your brow. Taking a few more deep breaths, just appreciating this moment of relaxation and peace that you've given yourself throughout for this day. Thanking your body and your mind for showing up today, and maybe coming back to those feelings of gratitude and what brings you joy. And whenever you're ready to kind of gently wake yourself back up, you can start to kind of wiggle your fingers and toes and coming back to the present moment. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a wonderful experience, and I wish you all the best with your yoga journeys. And yes.
And Marcia, thank you so much for the way that you've shown up today in this very, very professional and prepared presentation with a lot of background that has been posted on our website. If anybody hasn't seen it yet, Marcia's slides are there as well as her bibliography. So thank you again. And I believe you also offer online classes. So
I do, yeah. And you can contact me. I offer private and group online classes. If you did have a group of you who kind of wanted a class, and also had this reflection page, which I might offer just for you to think about if there's not time today. But you can think about the presentation and the ways in which, like, what can you take away from this this class today? Is there something that resonated with you? In yoga, you can kind of take what resonates with you and see what can benefit you in your life. So, and then there's the bibliography, which I did share with Rebecca in a better format as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you again. I don't know if we have another moment, if there's any questions or comments from anybody else who's here. I mean, it's okay if there aren't. But you can certainly reach out to Marcia afterwards. And again, I'm just really glad that we had this opportunity to have that evidence-based discussion as well as a small yoga practice. So thank you.
Thank you. Did anyone want to share anything before we go? The floor is yours. It can be, hard to share. I find that as well. Like in the beginning, especially sharing things that you're grateful for, because often they're very personal things. So it's nice to just reflect back on that as well. So.
Absolutely. Well, it's looking like everyone is reflecting on their own. But again, I thank you, and this was wonderful. And I'll speak with you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.